Brighton recording -2 degrees Celsius, whilst Aberdeen sits at a relatively mild 6 degrees. Yes, you heard that correctly. The south coast is currently colder than the Scottish Highlands, and this temperature inversion is just the beginning of what is shaping up to be one of the most unusual forecast periods we've seen this winter. Is your area about to face a dramatic weather shift that could disrupt weekend plans? Right now, the Met Office has yellow warnings active across 17 counties, affecting nearly 12 million people, with concerns about ice, fog, and later, significant rainfall. But what S coming next is where this gets really interesting. Over the next 10 minutes, I am going to walk you through exactly when conditions change for your specific location. Drop your location in the comments right now, because tomorrow I'll be doing personalized forecasts for as many of you as possible, and trust me, you will want specific timing for what S approaching. Let me give you the critical timeline straight away. London, you are looking at temperatures climbing from 4 degrees today to 11 degrees by Saturday afternoon, but rain arrives Friday evening around 7 o'clock. Manchester, your temperature holds steady at 7 degrees through tomorrow, then drops sharply to 3 degrees by Sunday morning with that rain turning to sleet. Birmingham, you are in for a soggy Friday with 15 millimeters expected, clearing by Saturday lunchtime. Glasgow currently sitting pretty at 8 degrees, but Dundee get too comfortable, temperatures plummet to 1 degree by Sunday. Cardiff mild through Friday at 10 degrees, weekend rain totaling 20 to 30 millimeters. Belfast staying relatively dry until Saturday evening, whilst everywhere else gets soaked on Friday. Right then, let us dig into what's actually happening meteorologically. We've got a blocking high pressure system over Scandinavia, creating an unusual easterly flow across the UK. That S why we re-seeing these temperature inversions, with cold continental air trapped at lower levels in the south, while Scotland benefits from a slight maritime influence. But here, S what nobody else talking about. The Met Office Unified Model and the European model are showing a 50-kilometre difference in the track of the low-pressure system approaching from the Atlantic. For those of you in Kent, Sussex, Hampshire, and Dorset, that 50 kilometres determines whether you get 20 millimetres of rain or 50 millimetres. Tomorrow morning, S model runs should clarify this. A deep Atlantic depression, 970 millibars at its centre, is sending a warm front sweeping across the British Isles Friday into Saturday. Behind that comes the warm sector, then the cold front Saturday night into Sunday, and behind that, much colder air. The pressure gradient is going to tighten considerably Friday evening, which is why we re-expecting those strengthening winds. We not talking storm force winds, just fresh to strong blustery conditions. Coastal areas and high ground seeing 40 to 60 kilometers per hour, perhaps 70 in the most exposed locations. Inland areas 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. Enough to be noticeable, particularly combined with heavy rain. Let me walk you through the timeline for more locations. For those of you in Leeds, Thursday stays dry but grey with that anticyclonic gloom. Friday morning starts dry, rain arrives around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, heavy through Friday evening, clearing by midnight. Sheffield follows a similar timeline, maybe an hour later. Newcastle, you are far enough north that the warm sector doesn't properly reach you. Rain arrives Friday evening, temperatures only climb to 8 degrees, and by Sunday you could see sleet or wet snow over higher ground in Northumberland. Above 300 metres elevation Sunday afternoon, there's genuine possibility of snow settling, perhaps 5 to 10 centimetres over the Cheviots. Liverpool, your concern is the rain combined with spring tides. Friday evening, high tide coincides with heaviest rainfall, potential for localised flooding in low-lying coastal areas. Bristol, overnight, Friday into Saturday for your heaviest rain, perhaps 25 millimetres in 6 hours. For Southampton and Portsmouth, Friday evening ferries definitely facing delays with rain and strengthening winds. Dover similarly affected, with ports showing wind speeds reaching 50 kilometres per hour by 8 o'clock. Brighton and Eastbourne on the south coast, you are starting cold today, but temperatures jump Friday afternoon as that warm front arrives, 10 to 12 degrees. The rain totals for you look around 15 to 20 millimetres. Reading, Guildford, Basingstoke across the home counties, Friday afternoon into evening for your heaviest rain. The M25 and M3 corridors will be particularly affected with spray and surface water. Winchester and Salisbury seeing similar timing, rainfall totals around 20 millimetres through Friday evening. For Scotland, Edinburgh currently 7 degrees, climbing to 10 Friday, then watch Saturday night. That cold front comes through, and by Sunday morning you are down to 2 degrees with blustery showers, some turning wintry over the Pentland Hills. Glasgow similar, but slightly more sheltered from westerly winds, so showers less frequent Sunday. Aberdeen and Inverness, you are the one locations that could see something genuinely unexpected. There's a secondary low developing, and if it tracks as the ECMWEF model suggests, you could see persistent rain turning to snow Sunday night into Monday morning. proper snow, not just flurries. The Met Office model is less enthusiastic, keeping it as rain, but there's enough uncertainty that those in the northeast should watch updates closely. Looking at latest runs, I'd say 60% chance of accumulating snow above 200 metres elevation. Dundee and Perth, you are in a similar boat to Aberdeen, potential for Sunday night snow over higher ground. Stirling, with your elevation, definitely watching for that snow possibility. The Cairngorms above 600 metres could see 20 to 30 centimetres if that secondary low develops as forecast. Wait until you see what S happening in the southwest, Plymouth, Exeter, Penzance. You were experiencing that cold continental air with temperatures struggling above 3 degrees. But Friday, that warm front arrives around midday, and temperatures could jump to 12 or 13 degrees within hours. That rapid rise combined with saturated ground creates fog risk Friday evening, potentially dense fog across Dartmoor and Bodmin Moor. Torquay and Payntons seeing similar rapid warming Friday, rain arriving lunchtime, 20 to 25 millimetres expected. Channel Islands, Jersey and Guernsey looking at 20 to 35 millimetres Friday, heaviest in the afternoon. Strong southwesterly winds developing 50 to 60 kilometres per hour. Beyond Cardiff, Swansea sees persistent rain Friday, 10 to 15 millimetres through the day. Bangor more exposed to southwesterly winds Saturday, potentially gusting to 70 kilometres per hour on the coast, possible ferry disruption to Anglesey. Snowdonia definitely seeing snow above 600 metres Sunday, perhaps down to 400 metres Monday morning. Northern Ireland, Belfast stays relatively dry until Saturday evening, but Derry and Western counties see rain Friday afternoon, 15 to 20 millimetres before clearing Saturday morning. Mountains of Mourne could see sleet or snow Sunday afternoon. Back to England's major cities. Nottingham, Leicester, your Friday commute home will be wet. Plan accordingly. M1 traffic could be slow with spray and surface water. Southampton, Portsmouth, Dover. Friday evening ferries could face delays with rain and strengthening winds. Ports showing wind speeds reaching 50 kilometres per hour by 8 o'clock. Cambridge and Oxford, you are on the northern edge of heaviest rainfall, so whilst you'll see rain Friday, amounts look closer to 10 millimetres rather than 20 to 30 further south. But that 50-kilometre uncertainty I mentioned determines whether you are in heavy or moderate rain. Peterborough and Ely, similar situation, borderline for heavy rain, tomorrow's models crucial. Norwich and Ipswich across East Anglia, URE looking at Friday evening for rain arrival, around 6 o'clock. Rainfall totals around 15 millimetres through Friday night. The Broads could see localised flooding with that combination of rainfall and high water levels. Great Yarmouth and Lowestoft on the coast, winds picking up Friday evening 40 to 50 kilometres per hour. Birmingham and Coventry, rain actually arriving slightly earlier than first thought, possibly 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. Wolverhampton and Stoke following at 5 o'clock. Total rainfall 15 to 20 millimetres across the West Midlands. Derby and Stafford seeing similar amounts and timing. York, regarding the Ouse and flood risk, Environment Agency hasn't issued warnings yet, but monitoring the situation. Friday's rain combined with Dale's runoff could raise river levels Saturday. Harrogate and Ripon, you read closer to source of that runoff. Watch river levels carefully Saturday morning. Scarborough and Blackpool, your Saturday is quite lively with large waves, spray, blustery showers. Not ideal for coastal walks. Sunday afternoon moderates with decent sunny spells between showers. Morecambe Bay area seeing similar conditions Saturday. The models show important differences. Met Office brings that cold front through faster, so Sunday morning clears up quicker with sunny spells by lunchtime for most of England and Wales. European model is slower, keeping showery rain until Sunday afternoon. This 6-hour difference is significant for Sunday plans. Tomorrow's runs should hopefully converge. There is uncertainty about how cold that air mass behind the cold front will be. GFS model brings Arctic maritime air straight from Iceland, giving us a properly cold start next week, perhaps frost in rural areas Monday and Tuesday morning. ECMWF is less cold, keeping temperatures just above freezing overnight. Either way, noticeably colder with northwesterly wind adding wind chill. Let me talk about what happens after the weekend, because there's one detail that concerns me looking at the extended forecast. Once that cold front clears Sunday, northwesterly winds establish, and the Atlantic is remarkably active. 3 separate low-pressure systems lined up, and whilst they won't all affect the UK, at least one looks likely to bring another wet and windy spell midweek next week. After Sunday's cold front, we get a brief ridge of high pressure building Monday, which should give most areas a decent day, cold but bright with sunshine. But then Tuesday into Wednesday, another low approaches from the southwest. Details too uncertain for specifics, but worth knowing the unsettled pattern continues. Classic British winter weather, Atlantic systems bringing rain and wind at intervals with brief settled spells between. Scottish Highlands, Hebrides, looking at gale force winds Saturday night 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. Orkney and Shetland on the periphery, rain and wind but less significant. Lake District seeing substantial rainfall Friday into Saturday, perhaps 40 to 50 millimeters over higher ground. There's a slight foehn effect as southwesterly flow comes over mountains, so Carlisle on the north side might stay drier than Kendal on the south. Isle of Wight gets 20 to 25 millimeters Friday evening. Portsmouth ferry crossing will be rough. The jet stream is in quite an amplified pattern with a deep trough over the North Atlantic. The blocking high over Scandinavia is retrograding westward, allowing Atlantic influence to dominate again, hence the wet and windy spell. This unsettled pattern looks like it could persist for 7 to 10 days. Do check back tomorrow because I'll have personalized forecasts for your locations from the comments, and crucially, we'll know more about that track uncertainty for Kent and Sussex. Midday model runs tomorrow should resolve the 50-kilometre discrepancy. Forecast uncertainty is part of meteorology, particularly with rapidly developing Atlantic systems. What I've given you is the most likely scenario based on current model consensus, but there is always a range of outcomes. That S why checking back tomorrow matters as new data narrows uncertainties. If there's one thing to take away, it's that Friday evening through Saturday morning brings the most significant impacts for most of the UK. Rain, wind, reduced visibility, difficult travelling conditions. Sunday improves but stays unsettled with showers. Then we re-watching carefully for early next week with colder air and potential further wet weather midweek. Planning travel this weekend, build in extra time Friday evening and Saturday morning. Roads wet, spray reducing visibility, potential localised flooding. Rail services might see delays with stronger winds. I know this isn't ideal for those with outdoor plans this weekend. The timing is rather unfortunate, particularly for Saturday when many have fixtures, events, commitments. The good news, if there is any, is Sunday afternoon into evening does improve for most areas, with showers rather than persistent rain and some sunny intervals developing. For football fans with fixtures Saturday, most games will go ahead, but conditions will be unpleasant. Wet pitches, blustery conditions. Sunday fixtures looking better weather-wise. Anyone planning hiking or outdoor activities, Friday and Saturday morning are definitely ones to avoid. Saturday afternoon into Sunday offers better windows. The Met Office website has latest warnings, worth checking if you re in affected areas. Environment Agency has river-level information if you are concerned about flooding. These are the official sources I do recommend monitoring alongside tomorrow's forecast updates. Comments, I really want to hear from you. Drop your location below, whether major city or small village, and tomorrow I'll give you personalized timing and impacts. I genuinely find it helpful knowing where you are watching from because it helps me understand which areas to focus on in future forecasts. One final surprise for tomorrow's forecast. There is a possibility parts of northern Scotland could see first significant snow of winter Monday into Tuesday. Models showing a small low developing, and if it tracks as some solutions suggest, 10 to 20 centimetres possible above 300 metres in the Highlands. That's quite notable for this early in the season. It is not certain yet the low could track further north and miss us entirely, but it's definitely something I'll be watching very closely for tomorrow's update. To recap naturally, we've got cold continental air creating unusual temperature inversions, Brighton colder than Aberdeen. Friday brings change, warm front sweeping northeast, rain for all areas through Friday into Saturday, heaviest across southern and western areas. Winds strengthen Friday evening, particularly coasts. Saturday, the cold front clears, leaving Sunday with showers, some wintry over Scottish and northern English high ground. Then colder air for early next week. I am looking at a forecast period where we transition from this unusual settled cold spell to a much more active Atlantic pattern. And those transitions are often when we see the most significant weather impacts. The contrast between cold, stable air and warm, moist Atlantic air creates dynamic weather situations. That is exactly what we are seeing play out Friday and Saturday. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock evening, I'll have a full update with much better detail on Sunday and early next week, plus those personalized forecasts from your comments. The model data will be fresher, we'll have more observations, and I'll be able to give you tighter timing windows for specific locations. Thank you for watching. Genuinely appreciate you taking time to stay informed about what's coming. Weather impacts all of us, and I hope this has helped you prepare for what's ahead this weekend. Stay safe, stay dry if you can, and I'll